Welcome to the Ethics Newsletter. This week, the fight for control is everything. Pharmacists are suing over moral duty versus patient needs. Meanwhile, the Silicon Valley elite are spending fortunes on designer babies, resurrecting eugenics. And we expose how AI models like ChatGPT are quietly amplifying bias against women in the workspace. No, it's not just you. Women are represented differently online. In October 2025, in the prestigious journal Nature, researchers Douglas Solane and Bhargav made a major discovery. By analyzing nearly 1.4 million images from YouTube, Google and IMDb, and 9 large language models like ChatGPT, they found a huge distortion. Women are systematically represented as being younger than men. The distortion is even stronger in occupations associated with high status and high earnings. There, men are represented as mature and experienced, while women are shown as young and just starting out. Of course, there is no issue with young women starting their careers, but this distortion contradicts reality. According to the US consensus, there are no systematic age differences between men and women in most workplaces. But this goes deeper. If again we look at Google Images, Wikipedia, YouTube and IMDb, women are represented as being 3 to 6 years younger than men, which means that ChatGPT, when evaluating a woman's resume, will essentially view her as younger and less experienced. This study demonstrates that the social prejudice, the association of women with youth, is not a statistical flaw programmed into technology. It proves that the internet and artificial intelligence are not neutral, and that the fight against discrimination must now include changing the database that train our AI. Imagine walking in your pharmacy and having your prescription refused, not because of an insurance error, but because the pharmacist personally objects to the medication. This fundamental tension is analyzed by sociologist Elizabeth Sciarello in The Conversation. The unresolved dilemma re-emerged in August 2025 when 2 pharmacists sued the Minnesota Board of Pharmacy. They claimed that they were punished for refusing to dispense gender-affirming care medication based on religious belief. This conflict forces us to ask, what right does a pharmacist have to substitute their personal moral judgment for a patient's medical needs? The debate over the pharmacist's role is not new. In the early 2000s, some refused to dispense Plan B. During the opioid crisis, they found themselves acting as legal gatekeepers identifying misuse. And during the pandemic, they refused to fill prescriptions for certain drugs, citing a lack of scientific evidence and potential harm. Elizabeth argues that this fight is ultimately about defining the pharmacist's professional power. While pharmacists have the legal right and knowledge to be medical gatekeepers, protecting patients from errors, their professional code of ethics requires them to prioritize the welfare of humanity and respect autonomy and dignity of each patient. If pharmacists want to maintain self-regulation, they must clearly define their role as prioritizing public interest and patient welfare. If they prioritize personal beliefs over patients' covenant of trust, history shows that the state is ready to step in and legislate the job for them, often with results they won't like. This raises a vital ethical question for all healthcare professionals. When is personal conscience a protected right, and when does it become a professional dereliction of duty? Are we in a reproductive revolution, or are we facing a dangerous return to eugenics? That's the question researchers are racing to answer this month. We are talking about PGT-P, the pre-implantation genetic testing for polygenetic traits. Scientists working with this new technology claim that they can predict and even optimize an embryo's intelligence, appearance, and even moral character. But the issue runs much deeper. This company used complex proprietary algorithms to predict genetic predisposition. They remove a few cells from a 5-day-old embryo, read the DNA, select and delete some traits, and then they place the optimized embryo back into the IVF cycle. The new customers for PGT-P are the Silicon Valley elite, people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Brian Armstrong, who are spending tens of thousands of dollars on genetic optimization. But ethicists are sounding the alarm. Is it fraud? Experts, including the American College of Medical Genetics, state that the practice has moved too fast with too little evidence. These optimizations are reliable for population trends, not for individual traits. On the other hand, the algorithms are based on databases that represent Western European ancestry, making the scores potentially unreliable and biased against other groups. Other critics accuse companies like Nucleus Genomics of reviving eugenics, the belief that humanity can be improved through selective breeding. Now let's see where the debate is now. The optimizer firmly rejects the eugenics label, instead advocating for parental liberty. Some academics, like political philosopher Jonathan Anomaly, coined the term positive eugenics, arguing that it is no different than choosing a tall sperm donor. Anomaly warns that an evolutionary arms race is inevitable, likely fueled by a new technology called in vitro gametogenesis, which could create practically unlimited numbers of embryo for screenings. He suggests that the race will begin quickly in places with minimal oversight, like the startup city Prospera from Honduras. And here is the crucial ethical link. Silicon Valley elites have already started buying land for these cities, which will operate outside state laws. The voting system is replaced. The cities are often run by a non-elected CEO, not a mayor, with rights often associated with social credit score. The ethical experiment extends beyond genetics into governance. This technology forces us to ask, what is the ethical cost of eliminating unpredictability from the human experience? Should a person's life be the product of serendipity and circumstance, or the result of an elite, optimized design choice that operates beyond democratic oversights? From the pharmacy counter to the lab, the question remains: when does personal choice become professional dereliction? We must hold this genetic, financial, and digital power accountable. That's the news. Stay sharp.